Hello, breastfeeding community. So I'm here to give you all some of my breastfeeding tips that has helped me along the way. Just a little background about me. I have been breastfeeding for a little over a year. My baby is 13 months now, so I've got the hang of what works for me, and I'm gonna give you all some of my techniques that I've been using along the way that I still go to for. So for my first tip, this is when I was breastfeeding early on and I had the challenges of not having the proper latch or not being able to deal with the pain or, all of the struggles that you have when you're breastfeeding for the first time as a new mom. So for this tip, so I'm reading off of the tablet and I'm just gonna sit there and just tell you all. So if you're new to breastfeeding and your baby can't get the right latch, I found this technique that's called the Flipple technique, aka thumbs up technique, and this will actually help extend your latch and make it less painful for you. So for this technique, it pretty much saved my breastfeeding experience early on. And I will try to leave a link below so you all can find a video on what the flipple or thumbs up technique is. And I just figured when I was first breastfeeding, I looked at a bunch of YouTube videos and I ran across this after trying to just figure out what will help me not be in so much pain or what will help my breastfeeding process. My third tip is use your own nipple cream. And what I mean by this, I learned this from a lactation specialist over time. I would have like the sore nipples and I invested in the nipple creams and all of that stuff that was on the market. But I found that using your own expressed milk and rubbing the expressed milk on your nipple, like whenever there's any type of soreness or pain, and letting it sit and dry, it works wonders. I'm telling you. So all you do, you would just literally just take your breast, squeeze to the tip, and have at least a drop come out. With that drop, you just rub it on your nipple, let it dry. It takes probably about 30 seconds or whatever. And once it dry, you can cover back up. But this will be like after you feed your baby or whatever. But it works wonders. I would live by that, like early on when I was enduring like the pain. I think probably was doing that for like at least 2 months because breastfeeding was like painful during that full duration for me. But that it helps and it's free and it worked better than any nipple cream on the market. Your own express breast milk, just drying that breast milk up on your nipple and having it to be used like a protective barrier. So you gotta try it. It sounds crazy, but you have to try it. Second technique, or the second tip, breastfeeding tip, is get a head of cabbage. I'm telling you, when I first got out of the hospital and I was going through the struggle of breastfeeding and like trying to get the latch right and the baby wasn't feeding correctly and my breast started to engorge, like the cabbage saved my life. So the head of cabbage will actually relieve the pain. Like put a head of cabbage in the fridge, like slice up like the big leaves and have it chilled and put it inside of your bra. And that will sit there and relieve any type of engorgement, any soreness, like it will disappear. And I just would go to sleep with it until it was time for me to breastfeed again. But I pretty much used the cabbage leaves early on for at least a week straight until I got like the hang of like the breastfeeding process. My fourth breastfeeding tip is research and find all of the breastfeeding positions and try them with your baby to figure out what works best for you all. So for me, I like the cradle position with my little one, and when I'm laying down, I like the side position where I'm on my side with the baby, and I usually like go to sleep in that position, especially like when I'm tired. But find what breastfeeding position works best for you. And if you're not comfortable in that position, majority of the time your baby is not comfortable in that position as well. So find what position you and your baby likes the most. So my fifth breastfeeding tip is invest in a baby carrier. A baby carrier will save your life when you have a child that's breastfeeding on demand. So for the breastfeeding carrier, well, I just call it a breastfeeding carrier because that's pretty much what I would use it for. So whenever you're on the go, whenever you're around the house working or whatnot, and the baby is fussing and wants to breastfeed, and you need to get some work done. This right here was my, I got this someone bought this for me, but this was like my first carrier that I got when my baby was like very small, and I pretty much like lived by this. I would put the baby in, and whenever they needed to breastfeed, I would just have it where they had access, and it worked. So the thing you would have to do, you would actually have to loosen up the straps all the way. And once you loosen it up all the way and the baby is faced right in front of your breast, you just lift up the breast and have the baby to latch on. But it works wonder. You just tighten the position so the baby can stay in that position. And whenever you're out going shopping or doing things around the house, it pretty much is a lifesaver. And you can use any type of baby carrier. Right now, I'm using a different baby carrier. I think it's Ergo, because my baby is one and he has a little bit more weight, and the capacity for this, I think, is probably about 25 pounds. But let the babies grow into whatever carrier and get another carrier once they outgrow that last carrier, especially if they're breastfed babies, because a lot of times as mom, you're busy, you got other things to do. You know, if you have other kids, you got other kids to tend to. So having it where your baby can be on you and you breastfeed them and they're comfortable and fed, you're good to go. And I've even I still do this whenever I go out to eat. Like my husband take me out to eat and the baby is hungry and whining or whatever, I will literally put the baby in the carrier face towards the breast, and I will let the baby feed. And no one, majority of the time, they don't have a clue that I'm breastfeeding. Most of the time, they're irritating me with trying to see the baby or like trying to figure out like, oh, the baby, and then they'll realize that I'm feeding the baby. But it's pretty much where I'm covered, and no one around me has a clue that the baby is breastfeeding. Most of the time they're thinking that the baby is sleeping. So this is very vital. Invest in a baby carrier and figure out how to line it up perfectly where you can actually breastfeed your baby in the carrier so you can be a breastfeeding on the go mom. Okay, for my seventh tip, really is your preference, how you like to, I guess, cover yourself or whatever, when you're out in public. But this is one of my tips that I use, and I think is like very convenient, is wear tank tops under your clothes. So whatever you're outfitted, whether you're wearing a t-shirt or whatever, like wear a tank top under it. And wear a top that's easily accessible. So ideally having like the zip down or the button down tops makes it very convenient when you're a breastfeeding mom. Okay, so the reason I said to wear the tank tops underneath your clothes is because one of the techniques that I've used, and I haven't seen anyone show me this, I guess learn over time. But for me personally, I like to be modest when I'm out in public. It's up to you, or however you know, like to dress or whatnot. But incorporating the tank tops underneath your like main outfit, it makes it easy for you to cover more skin when you're out in public breastfeeding, so you don't get so much attention. I'm one who don't like a lot of attention, especially like when it's something that's personal or intimate and you gotta breastfeed your child because they're fussing and crying. Having the tank top, all you would do, you gotta have the main top on, you would just slide the tank top all the way to the top and have it where you have the skin right there, and you would zip down or pull down whatever top you have, and then you would just sit there and line it up where the baby would have access to the nipple, and within that you can maneuver and cover and tuck anything, so you won't have your whole breast just flopped out in public and then everybody knows that you're breastfeeding, like in the restaurant or whatever. And also like when you have your baby is bigger, where they're pulling and tugging the nursing cover, it doesn't work all the time. Like for my baby that's 1, he's gonna pull that nursing cover down, so it's kind of pointless to even have that. Only way I could halfway get away with it is if he's sleeping, but he don't like to be covered up like that, so that it doesn't work for me. So having the tank top underneath your clothes, that's one of the techniques that I pretty much live by right now, just because it covers more skin and I don't get much attention, especially like if people are not paying attention to what's going on. I just put the baby on and then go on about my business, almost as if like I'm just cuddling the baby in the cradle position, and they don't know what's going on because I'm covered up. But once you have like the full boob out, and if you're not one to like attention, you're gonna get some attention, especially like if you're at a restaurant or whatever public place you're at. So that's one of my tips that I pretty much live by as a breastfeeding mom. So I hope you all try it at least, and let me know in the comments below if you like that idea. Watch part 2 of my breastfeeding tips so you can get the rest of the information that I have for you.